So, how many physicians in the audience? Raise your hand. Okay, this is a first for me. Usually I speak in front of large physician groups and health systems and strategists. So it's great to be in a different venue, and I'm in a different world. I think of that famous San Franciscan Jerry Garcia, right? He's formerly Grateful Dead, if you're a Grateful Dead fan. What a long, strange journey it's been for me. And so if you actually look at where I came from and where I am today, it's pretty much a non-linear career path. I don't know if my slides are going to come up or not. But I work today as a chief medical officer at Hims and Hers, but most of my career actually as a primary care physician. And so what I want to talk about. Okay, I need some help here. You can tell I'm not a techie. I'm a physician, but most of my career I actually was a primary care physician in this traditional model, which is really what I want to talk about is the evolution of care and how healthcare is changing and why we need different solutions to where we are today. I'm almost like the original Marcus Welby. Remember that show? You know, it was home visits and all of that. Well, most of my career, I actually was a primary care physician. I had a panel of 3,000 patients back in New Hampshire. I took care of patients from age, nursery to nursing home, family physician across the continuum. And so in that old model, you had a panel of 3,500 patients. You saw them 8 to 5 every day. You had an on-call service, but very few patients would call you after hours. Good Lord, you didn't want them calling you on weekends, and then Monday morning the onslaught would come. Everyone would call and say, I've sucked it up over the weekend, now I want to get seen. So the patients were very patient. They would wait for the doctor, and the philosophy was, if you build the system, they will come. Things have changed dramatically, and part of my evolution as a provider is I went from a primary care physician to a leader as a chief medical officer.
This will work better.
Health system, Hartford HealthCare, and then a leader of a large multi-specialty group in Boston. So I've kind of done it all. And my last position for 5 years was at Walgreens. So I was a chief medical officer for a company that's, huge company. I reported to a 78-year-old CEO, and it was really great job. I actually led their strategy around outreach, getting healthcare into our stores, because 6 to 7 million patients per customers today came in and out of our stores, and we touched 2 million virtually. So why not bring healthcare like primary care and retail clinics and lab services, hearing and vision into our stores? So I helped build that strategy, and then lo and behold, this spring I got contacted by a recruiting firm and said, we saw what you've been doing in terms of consumer-facing care. How would you like to explore an opportunity with a startup, a true startup? My CEO is 31 years old. My former CEO was 78 years old, a little bit of a difference. And it's really, Hims and Hers is a really novel direct-to-consumer play in telehealth. And what I saw is actually the next iteration of healthcare, going from what I used to do as a traditional primary care physician really into the digital age of healthcare. And why is this needed? Because if you take any lessons away from what I'll say today, there are two major challenges in healthcare. One is access. Why is access an issue? There's a huge shortage of primary care physicians. In the next 4 years, we'll be 50,000 primary care physicians short. At the same time, the number of chronic diseases are increasing exponentially. It's hard to find a primary care physician. It's hard to take care of patients with multiple chronic diseases if you don't have enough time. I saw a recent study where if you had a panel of 2,000 patients, you'd have to work 14 hours per day to take care of them. About 50% of your time is managing chronic disease, 30 to 40% on preventive, and 20% on acute care. We really need to use a team-based, innovative approach to healthcare if we're going to be able to care for patients and customers who come in who are trying to access care. And what I would say is where the future of digital health and virtual health is to take that 20% to start with of acute care needs, things like urinary tract infections, pharyngitis, dermatologic conditions, and to actually do them virtually and leave primary care physicians with the time to manage those really chronic disease patients. So access is a big issue, and price transparency. Every year, the price of healthcare goes up. Last year went up 6%. And continues to grow up. We're a $3.5 trillion industry, and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. The other phenomena that's happening is that more and more patients are paying out of pocket. You can see the annual out-of-pocket expense per patient has risen 230% from 2006 to 2015. So envision this, you have an employer-sponsored healthcare. The average deductible is about $1,600 to $1,800. Your employer is paying $20,000 a year to insure you, and you're paying $6,000 out of pocket. 80% of folks with high deductible health plans don't reach their deductible. So essentially, they're paying out of pocket. So all of a sudden, you have consumers who are very interested in what they're getting, what they're paying for, and what the value is for them. So it's a whole new world in healthcare when it comes to price transparency. And that's not even to mention the whole phenomena of surprise billing. If you go to one health system, you think they're in the network, but an anesthesia group who actually works for the health system is out of the network, so folks are getting these surprise bills, and it's really unsustainable. So again, what we're looking at is all of the access points in healthcare. At Walgreens, I led their retail clinics, which is good for about 30 diagnoses. I was a primary care physician. There's urgent care, which is really valuable because it can provide treatment for about 95% of conditions and forego you from going to the emergency room. If you go to the ER, you're going to pay a lot of money. At one of the health systems I worked with, I looked actually at the cost of care for our own employees. If you got a sore throat taken care of at a retail clinic, it was about a $150 visit. We were spending $980 for the same sore throat visit in an emergency room. So it's really about connecting patients to care, but in a really cost-effective venue because they are paying more out of pocket. And so what is the promise of telehealth? It's really taking care of initially those acute visits and eventually getting into chronic disease. It addresses the shortfall in physicians, and we have a real and worsening shortfall in the number of physicians. It's very powerful in rural areas. It provides price transparency and convenience. So all of these telehealth applications that you're seeing, that some of you are investing in, they're going to continue to grow. So where does Hims and Hers comes in? It's a direct-to-consumer model that actually provides end-to-end services for specific conditions. So someone can go onto our website and say, well, I'm a 35-year-old, I'm having issues with hair loss. What they will do is they will answer questions based on evidence-based guidelines, and then physicians will get that forwarded information, make a decision whether that patient, which is low-risk patients, is appropriate for treatment. So we do that for many conditions today: erectile dysfunction, hair loss, oral contraceptives, a lot of dermatologic conditions, particularly aging and acne. And we will continue to add new services on as we see the consumer demand. So it's really providing frictionless care end to end, because once someone is approved for the medications, they actually get the medications delivered to them, which is really powerful. The reason is that patients like getting the medications at home. Sure, you can go to Walgreens or CVS, but they like the convenience of actually receiving the medications. For a $30 to $35 subscription fee, they get the physician visit, but they also get the script. And if they're paying out of pocket, as many of our demographic is, they see good value there. It's convenient, they get the medications, and they can still have that two-way communication with providers if questions occur. And it's all evidence-based, high-quality visits. So we really have built two brands. The company's only, I think, 18 months. We're one of these unicorns. We're growing really quickly. We've built a brand around hims and hers. We've brought in really a great team to execute on our vision, which is really providing care in a frictionless way, particularly around stigmatized conditions. When I was a primary care physician, occasionally a patient would say at the end of the visit, oh, and I'm having issues with ED, so I'd have about 5 minutes to address that. I didn't always cover the essential questions. But when someone goes on our platform and they're having issues with erectile dysfunction, they get a great visit based on evidence-based guidelines. All the appropriate questions are asked, and it's very price transparent. And so we have really innovative marketing. You know, people tell me, oh gosh, I know about HIMSS. I think I saw a large cactus sign in New York. I've seen it in the subways of New York. So we've really built a brand that customers love. And from that, we're expanding into more conditions really around stigmatized areas. And so we've assembled a really top-notch team. Andrew Dudum is our CEO, young guy. He's been through a few different startups. Melissa Waters is a former chief marketing officer at Lyft. Melissa Baird has been at several startups. Spencer Lee came from Minted. They hired me as the token old guy. You know, we have a startup office in Soma, and you go in there, and gosh, everyone seems like they're the age of my 3 millennials. They're like 25 years to 30 years old. So it's been a great experience to date, and I'm really excited about what we can offer. So again, we talked about hair loss, sexual wellness, skin. Under the HIMSS and under hers, we have the hair loss, sexual wellness, and skin, and then we offer supplements and shampoos and other products too. And so that visit is, as I said, someone comes in, they answer questions, the information gets stored, it gets forwarded, and then the prescriptions are delivered to them for free, and then they pay a subscription service. We have a really, really robust quality and credentialing. I've led many medical groups, both at a health system and a large multi-specialty group. I can tell you we do more chart reviews than I ever did with groups that I led before. We review 5% of all charts. We review outliers. We have all the data to make sure the 200 physicians that we collaborate with, these virtual physicians, are actually doing high quality care. Every condition that we treat, the physicians have to go through training and answer questions on a webinar. The quality is top notch. And that kind of goes through that. So where are we today? We have a limited number of conditions we treat, but we are going to grow in that space. And we are going to continue to build our brand as really high quality products, trusted services. And we see a lot of opportunity to partner beyond just offering something online. We're talking to 5 major health systems today about how we could collaborate. What they see is that we're reaching a demographic, which is quite honestly, a lot of it's the millennials at 25 through 45-year-old. We have over 350,000 that are active subscribers on our site. We've delivered over 1 million products in 18 months. We are reaching a demographic. We relate to a demographic that traditional health systems don't always do a great job with. 40 to 50% of those folks who come on our site don't have a primary care physician. So the health systems are really interested in bringing in those folks into their ecosystem for appropriate conditions, particularly those higher risk patients. And then we can offer services around particular conditions. So there's a lot of synergy that's there. Today we're in 28 states. We have the opportunity to go in more states. We could probably do that quicker if we offered video visits, but we really like the idea of asynchronous because it's frictionless. You don't have to set up an appointment to see a physician on a video screen that you don't know. And what we've realized through studies is that a lot of patients don't like talking about stigmatized conditions on a video screen with someone who they've never seen before. So that anonymity is really attractive to the patients. And we're going to offer more over-the-counter products. So different world. I'm the old guy, came from the traditional world. I've grown up through the health system world, and then to Walgreens, so that consumer-facing care, particularly around retail clinics and some of our digital endeavors and pharmacy programs. But again, the next iteration is what we're doing today at HIMSS and hers. And we see tremendous growth in that space and tremendous value for consumers. So thanks for having me here.
Dr. Carroll, thank you so much. Excellent presentation. And I want to thank you for staying on time. That's your...
I went to Catholic school. The nuns did that.
Well, that just means